Welcome back to another creator collab. I'm excited about this one for September, and the topic we're going to be discussing is what meltdowns and shutdowns feel like for us as an autistic adult. We want to know how it affects other autistic adults, and it's going to be exciting to get 5 different viewpoints on where they stand when it comes to this. So I'm excited to have these people today joining the collab. We have some new faces and some faces you'll recognize, and hopefully this will help you. When I was a kid, I can remember all the way back then that I would just be prone to run to my room, slam the door, and lock it, and jump on my bed and just burst out crying and be upset. Anytime I felt like I was losing control of my emotions, that was what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to be like that around anybody else. I just didn't know how to deal with my emotions. As a teenager and a young adult, this never went away from me. Didn't understand why at my age I was having those as well. It would take me some time to recover. I will say, for me, my personal experience was that usually within a few hours I could get over whatever that meltdown and shutdown was about, although I would be exhausted and tired, and it had other effects on me. Even after I got married to my husband Jeff, I was running to my room, slamming the door, locking it, throwing myself on the floor and having a meltdown. Or in the worst case scenarios, just throwing things in my room because I was so upset. And it made me feel guilty. I didn't know why I was having that behavior. It didn't seem normal to me. And there were times my children witnessed this behavior, and I was embarrassed about that. It made me feel like I was a bad parent. But none of us knew I was autistic. But as you know, sometimes as an autistic person having a meltdown, we just need to be alone, and that's what's best for us. Now that I have a diagnosis, I can better understand what I need to do if this feeling is coming on for me. I know that I need to get away from the situation that's causing it and calm down. But when an extreme circumstance happens for me, it can't be avoided. It's going to happen. I have had to learn to let go of the guilt that I used to have during having a meltdown or shutdown, and I don't apologize anymore for those. Meltdowns and shutdowns, they're not your fault. I choose to focus on the positive traits.
Hey, I'm MJ. A meltdown for me looks like an overwhelm of emotion. I'm exhausted, I'm angry, I'm sad, I basically cry and shout and scream. I don't understand what I'm feeling. I'm feeling extreme confusion and extreme overwhelm. And this is the only way my body knows how to respond. I hate it, and it's not something that I'm proud of. I'm very embarrassed every time I have a meltdown, and I have a self-loathing period where I'm disgusted in myself with how I've responded and how I've acted. It's not fun. It's not something I can control. But if I'm in public, I am able to kind of delay it, I guess, until I get into my safe space, and then I can let it out. But eventually it does come out some way or another, and it can just be a little trigger that sets me off. Sometimes I'm aware of a meltdown coming, such as like my tolerance levels are really heightened, I'm really nitpicky with things, I'm getting irritated by things I wouldn't normally get irritated by, and they're the signs for me to just like take a moment, take a breath, step away from the situation and just calm myself down. But if that process in my brain gets interrupted and I'm distracted, then it's really hard for me to prevent a meltdown. And same with a shutdown. I'm usually in a shutdown before I realise a shutdown's happened. And it's just basically, I want the world to stop. I don't want to interact with anyone. I want to be invisible. I want to almost not exist. And then I have to ride that out. And then I'm able to kind of talk about it after. But in the moment, I have no words. I have no vocabulary to explain how I'm feeling.
I used to think that I never had meltdowns and shutdowns. However, I realise now, as a late diagnosed autistic adult, that there have been times in my life when my emotions have been so powerful that I've had no control over how I react. One of my meltdowns is especially memorable. I was about 9 years old, and I was at a friend's birthday party. I just remember having this intense feeling of distress, as manifested by me throwing some of my friends' birthday presents around. I would never willingly do such a thing. I just want peace, and I was the same when I was a child. There must have been something about the environment I was in that I couldn't cope with. I can't remember throwing things around like that as an adult, nor can I remember any other such meltdown as an adult. Actually, that's not true. A few months ago, I was obliged to buy my father-in-law's car because he's quite old and he's too frail to drive it. I already have a car, or rather I share it with my wife. So I didn't want to buy a car that I knew I wouldn't use. I hated the expectation and the lack of interest in what I wanted, or rather what I didn't want. I'm much more used to shutdowns. The world is often too stressful for me, and I hide away. I feel much less guilty about this now that I know I'm autistic. I used to just think I was sulking, but I now know that a shutdown is a legitimate response to being overwhelmed. We have to look after ourselves as well as each other.
Hi, Bear Fulmer. So what meltdowns and shutdowns are like for me as an autistic adult? Well, being late diagnosed, I didn't know what they were. I didn't understand what a meltdown was, or burnout was. So it really happens when I'm completely overwhelmed. Sometimes there's just like this increasing pressure, and sometimes you just end up you've just had enough, and you want to get away, and really all you want to go do is regulate, and you don't want to be put under that stress anymore. But sometimes it's almost like people push you, and you get completely into meltdown mode, where you're just so uncomfortable that all you want is out, and you don't have an option of just calming down. It's like an autonomous response. Even though you want to do the right thing or say whatever, societally you're supposed to do, you're in fight or flight mode, and all you want is out, and you don't want to be there anymore. And sometimes you can try to leave amicably, but then, for whatever reason, you're kind of forced to stay there until the meltdown happens, and then you're looked poorly upon. I think that's about my experience with that.
Meltdowns and shutdowns, eh? I prefer to use the term stress event these days because, sadly, there's just too much unhelpful baggage around those two words. People aren't trying to be offensive when they describe a rich, entitled fool having a hissy fit on their own social media platform as having a meltdown, but they're certainly muddying the waters. It's unlikely the newspapers will report on an externalised stress event with such enthusiasm, though. Both externalised meltdowns and internalised shutdowns are manifestations of the same kinds of emotional crises, and as individuals, we usually trend towards one more than the other. But neither of them resemble anything most neurotypical people could personally relate to. They're events that arise from overbearing stress and nothing more. I only melt down when I get angry. And since I haven't actually been angry in years, I haven't melted down. When I say that to neurotypical folks, they usually just laugh and either take the mickey out of me or assume that's what I'm doing with them. But I'm totally straight with this. I don't get angry. I get all the precursors to anger. I'm just as capable of feeling resentment, frustration, injustice, and all the rest, but they're not actually anger. They're just its components. They fester and gather in negative little pustules within us, which can heal over time, but all too often they don't. They rise closer and closer to the surface until someone comes by and pops that ugly emotional spot, and they just get it in the eye. Like half of autists, I'm alexithemic. And for me, that means almost never feeling angry. I've only ever felt true anger a few times in my life, and it scared the living daylights out of me. So I'm glad I don't feel it often. I don't want that kind of destructive force in my life. When my emotions get so high that my emotional boil might pop, then if I'm lucky, they just vanish as I slip over the alexithemic threshold into robot mode to get stuff done. If they don't, then I shut down, and that can last anything from hours to weeks. I barely move, I can't communicate, and I stim almost constantly. It's not nice to watch or experience, so I'm glad they don't happen often now. Alexithemia acts as a kind of safety valve for me, I guess. It can stop me from melting down and all the trouble that usually comes with it, but it makes me far more prone to shutting down, which brings its own set of troubles. The only thing I can say that has helped over the years is just understanding myself, what triggers my negative feelings and how I can minimize those triggers. It's taken me 4 decades and counting to get to this level of understanding about what makes me tick in a slightly different tone to everyone else. And I've still plenty to learn.
And today I wanted to kind of touch the subject of what Autistic Jenny said about meltdowns. So recently I went on a cruise from Cozumel, Mexico, and what I thought was supposed to be a relaxing, wonderful trip turned out to be a horror. It was absolute horror because of this child that came along with us. And this child was just out of control, wasn't listening, was not being respectful to his parents, hitting them, spitting them. It was just like, and there were plenty of time that I just walked out because I couldn't take it anymore from this child. And when I tried to explain to this child was just refusing to listen. And so I excused myself from their stateroom and I went to my room so I can decompress, so I can get a better grip on my feelings. And I just was not happy on the cruise. And so basically the mom tried to explain to the child, she says that he wants to apologize, but this child refused to apologize. So basically I have to excuse myself from them immediately. Have a good day. Bye.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, everybody. I don't seem to have meltdowns or breakdowns. I have overwhelms. What happens is everything just becomes too much. I start going in my mind, and it's just, it repeats itself over and over again about what's happening, about how I feel about the situation, but it's always negative, and it starts building on itself, where every moment is like, oh, that's annoying me, and then I'll just focus on that, and it'll get bigger and bigger, and I'll get more annoyed. My annoyance will just build. It'll feel like it's starting to surround me. Noises will get louder. Just visually will just become brighter and just too much, and everything will just be irritating. So I don't actually, I just take it, I get more angry until I snap. And when I snap, that's when I'm full of anger and I just need to get out. So then I go through, in those moments, depending on how crazy I'm feeling, it's usually a buildup of hours and hours of hours where I'm just feeling it coming. I'm feeling like in the not goodness. I'm kind of soaking in it. And it's like boiling water. It just gets hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And I have to get myself out of that situation. And then it's just a matter of trying to get to a place where I can calm down, where it doesn't have so much external influences on me so I can calm down without the constant input. I don't know what anybody was expecting, but I mean, that's me. So peace, cheers, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
So thank you for watching this video, and I want to thank these people right here for being a part of this and choosing to share with the community. We're grateful for that. And go down there and comment who did you relate to, or what did you get out of this video? Was there any advice that you're able to use in your own life, or share your experience with what a meltdown or shutdown is like for you if you experience those. If you like this video, go ahead and check out some of the other creator collabs. You might enjoy those too. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.